If you've been eating vegetables your whole life thinking you were doing everything right, what I am about to tell you might completely change the way you look at your plate. Because the truth is, some of the vegetables that most Americans consider healthy, the ones you find in every supermarket, the ones your doctor might have never even mentioned, could be quietly working against your body, especially after the age of 60. And I see this every single week in my practice. Seniors who are doing everything right, eating their vegetables, staying active, taking their medications, and still struggling with joint pain, digestive problems, blood pressure spikes, and inflammation that just won't go away. And in many cases, the culprit is sitting right there on their plate, looking perfectly innocent. I'm Dr. Sarah Brooks. I've been practicing medicine for over 20 years, and today I dedicate my work entirely to helping seniors live healthier, longer, and more independent lives. And today, I want to walk you through something that I believe every American over 60 absolutely needs to know. Four vegetables that could be making you feel worse than you realize, and four vegetables that can genuinely transform your health, reduce inflammation, protect your heart, and keep your mind sharp well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. So stay with me because this information could be a game changer for you, and I promise we're going to get into all of it right here. Let me start with something that surprises almost everyone I share this with. We grow up being told that vegetables are good, all vegetables, always the more the better. And for most of our lives, that advice is largely true. But here's what changes after 60. Your body changes. Your gut changes. Your kidneys process things differently. Your joints become more sensitive to certain compounds. Your thyroid, which regulates almost every major system in your body, becomes vulnerable to foods it could once handle without any trouble. And that means some vegetables that were perfectly fine for you at 30 or 40 can start causing real problems at 65 or 70, and most people have no idea this is happening. I remember a patient of mine, a 73-year-old woman named Margaret from Tennessee, who had been eating a huge spinach salad every single day for years because she genuinely believed she was doing something wonderful for her health. She came to me frustrated, dealing with painful kidney stones that kept coming back, joint inflammation in her hands that was getting worse, and persistent bloating that no one could explain. When we looked at her diet together, the spinach was a major piece of the puzzle. Not because spinach is bad in general, but because Margaret's body, at her age and with her health history, was reacting badly to the high levels of oxalates in that spinach, and she had no idea. Once we made some adjustments, her symptoms improved dramatically within just a few weeks, and she told me she wished someone had told her this years ago. That's exactly why I'm telling you now. So let's talk about the first vegetable on our list of four to be very careful with. And I want you to really pay attention here because this one is in almost every American kitchen: spinach. Now, before you close this video, hear me out because I am not saying never eat spinach again. What I am saying is that if you are over 60 and you're eating large amounts of raw spinach on a regular basis, you could be unknowingly creating serious problems in your body. Spinach is loaded with a compound called oxalate, which in large quantities binds to calcium in your digestive system and forms crystals that can accumulate in your kidneys. For younger people with healthy kidney function, this is usually not a big concern because their bodies process and eliminate oxalates efficiently. But as we age, our kidneys naturally become less efficient, and oxalate buildup becomes a real risk. Studies show that oxalate rich diets are one of the leading contributors to calcium oxalate kidney stones, which are the most common type of kidney stone in Americans, and seniors are significantly more vulnerable. Beyond kidney stones, high oxalate intake can also worsen joint pain and inflammation, which is the last thing most seniors need. If you love spinach, the key is to cook it rather than eat it raw because cooking breaks down a significant portion of the oxalates and makes it much safer for your body to handle and to eat it in moderate amounts rather than making it the foundation of your daily diet. The second vegetable on our careful list is one that's been having a major moment in American health culture over the last decade, and you've probably been told it's one of the healthiest things you can eat: raw kale. And again, I want to be very precise here because cooked kale is a different story entirely, but raw kale, especially in large daily amounts, contains compounds called goitrogens. And those compounds can interfere with thyroid function in a way that becomes particularly concerning after 60. Your thyroid gland is your body's master regulator. It controls your metabolism, your energy levels, your body temperature, your heart rate, and your brain function. And thyroid problems are already extremely common in older Americans, especially women. According to research published in medical literature, goitrogens in raw cruciferous vegetables can suppress thyroid activity and interfere with the body's ability to use iodine properly, which is essential for thyroid hormone production. If you already have an underactive thyroid, or if you're taking thyroid medication, eating large amounts of raw kale on a regular basis could be quietly undermining the treatment you're relying on. The good news is that cooking kale almost completely neutralizes the goitrogens. So, sauteed kale with a little olive oil and garlic is a completely different nutritional situation than a raw kale smoothie every morning. If you've been drinking raw kale shakes and wondering why you feel tired, foggy, or sluggish, this might be an important piece of your puzzle. Now, if any of this sounds familiar, if you've been dealing with unexplained fatigue, joint issues, or digestive problems that just won't resolve, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button right now because this is exactly the kind of information that can start turning things around for you and for the seniors in your life. The third vegetable that seniors over 60 need to be very careful with is one that surprises almost everyone. And it's actually a nightshade vegetable that most Americans eat several times a week without thinking twice. I'm talking about tomatoes. Now, tomatoes are nutritionally complex, and the relationship between tomatoes and senior health is nuanced, so I want to explain this carefully. Tomatoes contain compounds called solanine and lectins, as well as being highly acidic. And for seniors who struggle with arthritis, joint inflammation, or acid reflux, which affects a huge percentage of Americans over 60, tomatoes can be a significant aggravating factor. The nightshade family of vegetables, which includes tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, and white potatoes, contains alkaloids that some people's immune systems react to with increased inflammation, particularly in the joints. There's a reason that many functional medicine practitioners and rheumatologists recommend nightshade free trials for patients with rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, because a meaningful percentage of those patients experience noticeable improvement when they reduce their nightshade consumption. Additionally, the high acid content in tomatoes can worsen esophageal reflux, which is not just uncomfortable but can, over time, damage the lining of the esophagus in ways that become medically serious. None of this means you can never have a tomato again, but if you're dealing with chronic joint pain or persistent reflux and you're eating tomatoes daily, it's worth having a conversation with your doctor about whether a short elimination trial might be revealing for your situation. The fourth vegetable on our list to approach with caution is corn, and specifically processed corn products, though fresh corn on the cob also deserves attention here. Corn is the most widely consumed vegetable in America, and it's deeply embedded in our culture, from summer barbecues across the Midwest to street food in the South. But here's the truth about corn that most seniors don't hear. Corn has a very high glycemic index, meaning it causes a rapid spike in blood sugar that can be particularly problematic for people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, both of which are epidemic among Americans over 60. According to the CDC, more than 1 in 4 Americans over 65 has diabetes, and many more are pre-diabetic without knowing it. Beyond the blood sugar issue, corn is also high in omega 6 fatty acids. And when the ratio of omega 6 to omega 3 fatty acids in your diet gets out of balance, which is extremely common in the typical American diet, it promotes systemic inflammation throughout your body. Inflammation is the underlying driver of heart disease, Alzheimer's, arthritis, and many cancers. So anything that consistently pushes your inflammation levels higher is worth paying very close attention to. Corn syrup and corn derived additives in processed foods compound this problem dramatically, but even plain corn should be eaten in moderation and never as a daily staple if you're managing blood sugar or dealing with chronic inflammation. Now, let's shift to the exciting part because I've been building toward this, and I know you've been waiting for it. We've talked about what to be careful with, and now I want to tell you about 4 vegetables that are genuinely extraordinary for seniors, vegetables that research backs up, that I've seen make real differences in my patients' lives, and that you can find at any Walmart, Kroger, or local farmers market across America. These are not exotic supplements or expensive specialty foods. These are accessible, affordable, deeply nourishing vegetables that work with your aging body in ways that are almost remarkable. Before we get into those 4 incredible vegetables, I want to mention that if you want access to exclusive content, deeper health protocols, and personalized home remedy guides, you can become a member of our channel. I share even more detailed information there specifically for our members, including full nutritional guides and step by step protocols that you won't find anywhere else. The first vegetable every senior over 60 should be eating regularly is sweet potato. And I want to explain why this goes so far beyond what most people know about it. Sweet potatoes are one of the most nutrient dense foods available to us, and they contain a remarkable combination of nutrients that are specifically valuable for the aging body. They are rich in beta carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A, and vitamin A is essential for maintaining the health of your eyes, your immune system, and the mucous membranes that line your respiratory and digestive tracts. As we age, immune function naturally declines, and vitamin A is one of the most important nutritional supports for keeping that immune response strong. But here's what makes sweet potatoes truly special for seniors. They contain significant amounts of potassium, which helps regulate blood pressure and counters the effects of sodium in your diet. High blood pressure is one of the most dangerous and most common health issues in Americans over 60, and potassium is one of nature's most powerful blood pressure regulators. Sweet potatoes also provide a good amount of dietary fiber, which feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut, helps regulate blood sugar more gently than regular potatoes because of their lower glycemic impact, and keeps your digestive system moving in a way that becomes increasingly important as we age. Research has also shown that the antioxidants in sweet potatoes, including anthocyanins in purple sweet potatoes and beta carotene in orange ones, have measurable anti inflammatory effects, which means every time you eat a sweet potato, you're essentially giving your body a gentle anti inflammatory dose that supports your joints, your heart, and your brain simultaneously. Now, here's something practical I want to share with you, what I call Dr. Brooks's sweet potato protocol for seniors. And you can do this at home with ingredients you can find at any grocery store. Take one medium sweet potato, scrub it clean, and bake it whole in your oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes until it's tender all the way through. Once it's cooled slightly, cut it open and top it with a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, a quarter teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, which is important because black pepper increases the absorption of turmeric's active compounds by up to 2,000%, and a sprinkle of cinnamon. The turmeric and black pepper together create a powerful anti inflammatory combination that works synergistically with the beta carotene in the sweet potato. And the olive oil helps your body absorb all the fat soluble nutrients. You can eat this as a side dish 2 or 3 times a week, and you'll be giving your body an extraordinary anti inflammatory, blood pressure supporting, immune boosting meal that costs just a few dollars and takes less than an hour to prepare, most of which is hands off baking time. This is one of the simplest and most powerful nutritional upgrades you can make. And I've had patients tell me it changed how they feel within just a few weeks of making it a regular habit. The second vegetable that I consider almost non negotiable for seniors is broccoli, specifically cooked broccoli. And I want to explain why the cooking method matters enormously here. Broccoli is one of the most researched vegetables in nutritional science, and the evidence for its benefits in aging adults is genuinely impressive. Broccoli contains a compound called sulforaphane, which is one of the most potent natural anti-cancer compounds we've identified. And according to research from Johns Hopkins and other leading institutions, sulforaphane activates specific cellular defense pathways in your body that help protect against cancer, remove toxins, and reduce inflammation. For seniors, this is critically important because the risk of cancer increases significantly with age, and having a diet that actively supports your body's cellular defense systems is one of the most powerful things you can do for long-term health. Broccoli is also rich in vitamin C, which supports immune function and collagen production. And collagen is what keeps your skin firm, your joints cushioned, and your blood vessels elastic. As we age, collagen production naturally declines, so getting consistent nutritional support for collagen synthesis becomes more and more important. Broccoli also provides significant amounts of calcium and vitamin K, which work together to support bone density, and bone density is one of the most critical factors in preventing the falls and fractures that are among the leading causes of disability and death in Americans over 65. Here's something important about how to prepare broccoli to maximize its benefits. Research shows that sulforaphane formation requires an enzyme called myrosinase, and the way you cook your broccoli determines whether that enzyme is activated or destroyed. The best approach is to steam your broccoli rather than boiling it because boiling in water dissolves the water soluble nutrients and washes them away, and to steam it until it's just tender but still has a bright green color, which takes about 5 to 7 minutes. Alternatively, if you like it roasted, roast it at 400 degrees with a little olive oil and garlic, which adds its own health benefits. One wonderful trick that researchers at the University of Illinois discovered is that if you add a small amount of raw daikon radish or mustard seed to cooked broccoli, it reintroduces the myrosinase enzyme and dramatically increases the formation of sulforaphane even in cooked broccoli. So if you can find a little raw radish at your local store, chop a small amount over your cooked broccoli and you've just doubled its anti-cancer power. The third vegetable that belongs on every senior's plate regularly, and one that is deeply rooted in American cooking tradition, is garlic. And I'm going to tell you something about garlic that might make you see this humble little bulb in a completely different light. Garlic has been used medicinally for thousands of years across virtually every culture on Earth, but modern science has now given us a very clear picture of why it works and exactly what it does in your body. The active compound in garlic is called allicin, and it's released when garlic is crushed or chopped. And allicin has been shown in numerous clinical studies to have powerful antimicrobial, antiviral, anti inflammatory, and cardiovascular protective effects. For seniors specifically, the cardiovascular benefits of garlic are particularly remarkable. Multiple meta analyses, which are studies that combine the results of many different research trials, have shown that regular garlic consumption can meaningfully reduce blood pressure in people with hypertension, lower LDL cholesterol, reduce the tendency of blood platelets to clump together, which reduces the risk of blood clots, and improve circulation throughout the body, including to the brain. Given that heart disease remains the leading cause of death in Americans over 65, and that stroke is one of the most feared health events among seniors, having a free, accessible, delicious food that genuinely supports cardiovascular health in all of these ways is extraordinary. I always tell my patients that garlic is like a little daily insurance policy for your heart. And here's something I want to make sure you know about garlic because most people do this wrong. When you chop or crush garlic, you need to let it sit for about 10 minutes before you heat it. This waiting period is essential because it allows the enzymatic reaction that creates allicin to complete. If you throw garlic directly into a hot pan the moment you cut it, the heat destroys the enzyme before allicin can form and you lose most of the medicinal benefit. Let it sit for 10 minutes first, then add it to your cooking, and you'll be getting the full benefit of everything that makes garlic one of nature's most powerful medicines. You can find garlic at any grocery store in America for just $1 or $2 for a whole bulb. And adding it to your meals 3 or 4 times a week costs you almost nothing while potentially adding years to your healthy life. I want to pause here and ask you something directly. Are you already eating any of these vegetables regularly? Have you noticed a difference in how you feel when you eat more or fewer of them? Write your answer in the comments below because your experience and your story could genuinely help someone else watching this video right now. Tell me which of these vegetables you've already been eating and whether any of this information surprised you, and I read as many of your comments as I possibly can. The fourth and final vegetable on our must-eat list is one that I have seen make dramatic, sometimes almost unbelievable differences in my senior patients. And it's one that you can find at any Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or farmer's market across the country. I'm talking about beets, and if you've been avoiding beets because you think they're just for pickling or holiday dinners, I want to change your mind today. Beets are nutritionally extraordinary for aging bodies, and the research behind them has accelerated dramatically in the last decade. The most important thing to know about beets is that they are one of the richest dietary sources of nitrates, which are natural compounds that your body converts into nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in cardiovascular health. Nitric oxide relaxes and widens your blood vessels, which improves blood flow, reduces blood pressure, and most remarkably, increases the amount of oxygen delivered to your tissues, including your muscles and your brain. Research published in the Journals of the American Heart Association has shown that regular beet consumption can lower systolic blood pressure by several points in people with hypertension, which is a clinically meaningful reduction that can reduce your stroke risk significantly. Several studies have also shown that beet juice increases exercise endurance and reduces the oxygen cost of physical activity, which means that seniors who drink beet juice before a walk or a light exercise session can literally go further and feel less fatigued for the same amount of effort, which is particularly exciting for anyone trying to maintain their mobility and independence. But beets offer more than just cardiovascular support. They contain a unique pigment compound called betalain, which gives them their deep red color and which has been shown to have powerful anti inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Beets are also rich in folate, which is essential for brain health and for the synthesis of neurotransmitters that regulate mood, and they provide significant amounts of manganese, potassium, and vitamin C. One more thing about beets that I find fascinating and that I share with my patients who are worried about cognitive decline. Research from Wake Forest University showed that high nitrate diets, including beets, increased blood flow to the frontal lobe of the brain, which is the region most commonly affected by dementia and Alzheimer's disease, suggesting that beets may have a genuine protective role in preserving cognitive function as we age.